Hello, everyone. Welcome to Favorite Free or Cheap Fundraising Tools.
That's what we're going to cover today. There are lots of things to do in fundraising. We can spend big money, and we don't have that big money. We can't afford all the toys that the corporate marketing departments have and things, but we would really like to have those things. So how are you kind of like hack together these pieces that still let you do some of those, big marketing things, but more economically? And also, how do you just work more efficiently? Those of you that know me know I'm a big productivity nerd, so I want to share a little bit of the inner workings of what are some tools you can use to just be able to have more time and use your brain more effectively to get more of these great fundraising things done. So I have this pretty jam-packed today, so I am going to hop right in. Real briefly, for those of you that don't know me, if this is your first webinar, bottom line is I'm a career fundraiser. It's all I've ever done. I had the honor of serving as a frontline fundraiser for the organizations you see in the top row here. I'm a certified fundraising executive, a master trainer, and a past chapter president with the Association of Fundraising Professionals. These days, I spend my time doing fundraising training, strategy, and coaching work, primarily with small community-based nonprofits with my company, Productive Fundraising. And I have the extreme honor of teaching the fundraising courses at both Temple University and Messiah College. That's me. That's all you need to know for now. I'll tell you a little bit more about me at the end. What are we going to do today? Well, we just kind of got through that boring introductory stuff already. There wasn't much because I have a lot of tools I want to share with you. I want to get right to them today.
Before I hop into the tools, I wanted to let you know that everything I talk about today is available for you to click and see and visit through the downloadable PDF document. All the links are in there. You'll be all set to take advantage of whatever free or cheap resource you'd like.
So there is a little bit of balance with these, all right? As I said, I've got that productivity nerd side in me. I care equally about as much as efficiency and effectiveness, all right? It's got to be effective. It's got to be the right thing to do, but I want to do it efficiently. So what you do and how you do it. So we're going to have some information, some tools I use to figure out how to fundraise. What kind of fundraising should I be doing? Where can I get a great sample? Some of those kind of things. And then also some how you do it. How do I actually streamline or make this more efficient as I work through this? So kind of an equal mix of that. I'm going to start out with some fundraising ideas. Where are my favorite places to go just to get ideas or when I need a sample of something? Then I want to cover fundraising tools. What are some tools I actually use to get the fundraising done, to get things created, to do that more efficiently? And then that productivity side. What can I do to structure my time a little more efficiently? I'll give you a little sneak peek into my system. My system may not be right for you. My system will be right for about a quarter of you. That is it. But I'll show you how to figure out what might work for you as well. And then finally, I'm going to wrap up with we're going to switch out of PowerPoint because we all see way too much of it anyway. I'm going to go to a live demo on my web browser, show you 3 of my most favorite tools to wrap things up, just so you can get a sense of how they actually work and think a little bit about how you could make them work in your shop. So that's the game plan. Let's hop right in. Fundraising and ideas and instruction is our first area. So where do I go for fundraising ideas? Well, I want to start with a book. I want to start with 2 books, actually, because that is key for me. Just making time for reading, learning. When people ask me what's the #1 trait for any fundraising professional, I always say the willingness to continually keep learning. The willingness not to say, oh, fundraising, I've been doing this for 20 years. I know how to fundraise. I don't have to go to conferences. I don't have to be a member of my local AFP chapter, all these kind of things. When I see that, that's when I see fundraising get stale and that law of diminishing returns just kind of kick in, that everything was good, but it's just going to slowly start to go down. So that willingness to learn. So with that in mind, I thought I'd do 2 book recommendations to start us out on fundraising instruction. One for beginners, folks that are, 3 years or less in the field, and then one of my tried and true for any kind of professional, a great refresher. So here we go. First is my intro book. I really like Nonprofit Fundraising 101. edited by Darian Rodriguez-Heyman and Layla Brenner. So they kind of pulled it all together. We got a chapter on almost every fundraising area and technique. But they also, it's not just their expertise. There are more editors with this, and they interview the true thought leaders on it. So as the subtitle says, a practical guide with easy to implement ideas and tips from industry experts. This is the textbook I use in my courses, both at Temple and at Messiah. Good introduction to the field. Encourage you to grab that if you need just kind of that all-around tune-up. But if you have been in the field and you know these things for a while, this is my favorite book on copywriting. This is how you write fundraising copy, how you write appeal letters that actually get read, and a little bit on how you actually get them opened. Most of my instruction on how to write a fundraising appeal comes from the fabulous Jeff Brooks. He's been at this a long time. Tom Ahern, probably my two favorite experts there. But this is a nice, you'll see how thin it is? It's a quick read. It's a quick read. You can do it in an afternoon, 143 pages, nice big text. They kind of model what we should be doing with fundraising appeal letters right there. Quick little chapters. I encourage you, I reread this every August because in September I start doing appeal instruction for the following year with clients and webinars and things. So a quick read, a good reminder, real world field tested strategies for raising more money. The Fundraiser's Guide to Irresistible Communications. So those are there. Where else do I go? Where do I go on the internet for ideas? I'm going to share two of my favorite places there, and I will say there is so much information out there. It was next to impossible for me to select these. I could do a whole webinar on just where do you go for fundraising ideas and instruction. So I just want to share two of my favorite. And at the end in the live demo, one of the places I'm going to take you is over to Feedly, which is my RSS reader. And that's where everything comes in. So you'll get to see a few of my other sources and things. And stuff's coming in as it is. So we're going to go live and see what's there. Hopefully I'm not embarrassed by anything. I don't know what it would be, but a little bit of a risk there. But we're going for a peek inside today. So this one, Sophie. Sophie is a fabulous tool. Sophie stands for the Showcase of Fundraising Innovation and Inspiration. Been around for a little while, actually UK-based. I believe affiliated with the great Ken Burnett. I don't know exactly how they're structured there, but it is just a repository of all kinds of great fundraising samples, but also case studies. That's what I love about Sophie. Sophie is going to show you the science and the analysis behind the campaign. And how did it actually work? What was the difference? What was the change? So I like the science of Sophie. Yeah, you can go and get design ideas, copy, stories, all those kind of things. The samples are worldwide. So yes, there's UK, there's Europe, but there's US, everything's in there. And for you US fundraisers that are thinking, why would I want to look across the pond? I encourage you to look across the pond. There is some really great innovative stuff over there that looks a little different than what we do and can make things stand out as you fundraise in your community. So Sophie, great site, almost always my first stop when I need a sample or an idea for something, looking for something a little different. One of my other favorite stops is the website of the great Lynn Wester, the donor relations guru. If you haven't seen Lynn in person, I encourage you to get to one of her workshops or webinars or something. Always a lot of fun. We're currently in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. Lynn's doing weekly chats, Facebook Lives, happy hours. Always fun, always really getting into what's working. So encourage you to check her out. But I love her library because her library is a little different. If you go to my website, productivefundraising.com, and you click on the library, you're going to get lots of samples, templates, those kind of things. That's what you usually expect. Lynn has that, but she also does these great swap file compilations where she puts a feel out to all of her clients and followers and say, hey, send me your best donor survey. Send me your best stewardship report. Send me your best gift acknowledgement. And then she takes those and puts it into a giant swap file. So usually one PDF. Sometimes she has to break it into 3 because there's just so many. But I've seen a swap file with like 500 annual reports. So if you're looking for ideas, it's great. You just open up the file, page down until you see something that kind of strikes you. Look at it. Hunting all over the internet all afternoon for annual report samples. So you all of a sudden have 500 right in front of you. Encourage you to subscribe to her stuff. Just awesome, great content. and a fun, amazing human being as well. So that's Lynn Wester, the donor relations guru, in their library of swap files. All right, those were some ideas. I can get you started on ideas. We got our instruction with our books, and there's tons more out there. I could do a whole thing on books. I do have a book list on my website. So if you go to I Need Help With, and it says finding fundraising books that actually help me, there is a list of about 12 of all my favorites. So a bit more there that I don't have time to get to today. So fundraising tools. Let's talk about fundraising tools. What do I use to actually help with fundraising? Well, it's great that we can go to these websites and get ideas, get samples, but how do you actually collect that or get that and find a way to capture that? Well, I use a tool called Evernote, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. Evernote is a digital filing cabinet. It's basically a place to put all the stuff, get it out of here so we can actually use this for thinking, put all our stuff into a tool like Evernote so it's saved forever. I don't even really use much internet bookmarks. I use Evernote because that takes it out of the online space and into my world. I can talk Evernote for a long time too. I encourage you to check that out, especially if you're a little more techie and you don't want hard files. I run my whole life through there. I just looked, I have 53,000 notes. I mean, all my bill copies are in there. It lives on here too, so I can pull up any document anywhere I am. Great tool. But my favorite part about Evernote is the web clipper. The web clipper. And I just pulled this up. This is a sample from their website. Show you a little bit about what the web clipper is. So anytime you are on a web page and there's something you want to save. So I see this great fundraising idea, or here's this image I want to save, or I want to make sure I can get back to this site. The web clipper is a little button. It's actually way up here in the corner. This little top blue thing is actually a little elephant head. That's their logo. If you click that, it brings up this box, and it says, how do you want to save this? Do you want to save the article? My favorite right here is simplified article. So it's going to cut out all the ads and everything. Just give me that text. I can take the full page, the bookmark, a screenshot. I click that, and it goes right over to Evernote. It's saved for later when I need it. And it has great text search too. I can just kind of type anything and it's going to pop right up. So Evernote is where I save all the great stuff I find on the internet. Another techie tool, and this is probably the newest tool for me. Ooh, I did not realize this was a video. Wow, that is interesting. Here we go. I think they're going to show you a bit of what this tool can do here. Interesting. All right. This is called Zapier. Zapier links to web apps or websites together and lets them talk to each other. So they might not normally have the integration built in, but it lets it talk. So for those of you that registered for this website on Eventbrite, Zapier and connects Eventbrite and Zoom for me. So I did not have to register you in Zoom. You didn't have to register in Zoom directly. It automatically made them talk, and you got your confirmation and your link directly from Zoom, how that's there. I do it too with like LinkedIn. I get a new LinkedIn connection. Zapier automatically adds that person and their contact information to a Google Sheet for me with some date and some other things pulled. So I can kind of reach out and track, and I just find LinkedIn's contact interface a little clumsy. So I'm just scratching the surface with this tool, but it's amazing. It starts out as free. Evernote starts out as free. A lot of these things have premium plans, but very few do you actually need it. So if you haven't heard of Zapier, I encourage you to just go to their site and type in a couple apps that you use and see what it can connect to. Very interesting tool. Really kind of next front of what's the next level with these tools we have. Well, let's connect them and let them talk to each other so we don't have to do all these manual steps to do that information. So that was my newest one. Next, let's go old school. Old school, the fundraiser's favorite tool, right? The thank you note, the handwritten thank you note. We have all these great tech things, but we can't forget what works. How often do we get handwritten thank you notes? Not very often. I tell the story of multiple times in my career I have showed up for a meeting with someone, like a second meeting, maybe 6 months or even a year after the first one. And after that first meeting, I had sent a handwritten thank you note. And guess what's clipped on their bulletin board behind them? There's my note. Every day they came to work over that whole year, they saw my thank you note, thought of me, had those good thoughts. That's not why we do it, but imagine the impact of that. They were thanked every day by my note, and I didn't have to do anything. So they are incredibly important. People say they don't have time. I've boiled it down to 3 sentences. That's all you really need to do. This is my formula. What happened, the impact on the organization, what I appreciate about them. It looks like this. Vance, thanks again for taking the time to meet with me this week. I'm confident that by working together, we can both increase our impact on the local art scene. I greatly appreciate your dedication to the cause. Always using that word, appreciate. So, incredible tool. I, got tired of sending notes with just like my organization's logo on it, or when I came out on my own, I wanted something a little different. So I had my own notes created. Simple. So I had fundraiser Chad notes. I have 2 of them. I have this one. It says, "You make this world a better place." Who wouldn't want to get that? And the other one is, "Our community is a better place because of you." Great sentiments, words, put that right on the front. Not necessarily our organization's logo. We can throw a card or something in there. Or I've seen 2, we put the organization's logo on the back, centered as well. Work really good. I'm not trying to sell thank you notes here today, but if you want them, they are linked up. I don't really make money on them. I basically sell them at cost just to put good things out there to the world, but fundraiser Chad notes are a little fun. All right, the current reality. We are spending a lot of time on Zoom, whether we want to or not. I'm going to talk a little bit about some lesser known features of Zoom that might be of use for nonprofits as we adjust to being in the virtual environment, maybe more long term. Maybe it's going to be a more ongoing, steady, continual need as we go along through this. So first, pro accounts. Pro accounts are pretty affordable. I think they start at about $15 a month. So you want to make sure it's a tool you use, but they're not out of reach for most groups. One of the favorite things about pro accounts is that's where the live stream options kick in. So with a pro account, you can live stream to either a YouTube page or your Facebook page, your organization's Facebook page. So this is how a lot of people are working and pulling off some of these virtual events, fireside chats, other things we're doing to get some FaceTime, some content out there where they can actually see us to our donors rather than just phone and notes and print. So that's the tool. It's very easy to use. It's not huge out there. From an expense perspective. The other thing it has are breakout rooms. Breakout rooms come in there at that level. So if we are doing training for our organization, or maybe we have, maybe we're a food bank and we have agencies and we provide some training to them, or I know lots of organizations are in that situation where we're training other groups or volunteers. Sitting here with no interaction, it gets old. Thank you all for joining. I had great response to this webinar today, but I know we get tired of it, and there's so many free training options out there. We need to make it more interactive. So in all of my in-person trainings, or not in-person, but my agency-specific trainings now, I'm incorporating the breakout rooms, where we're going to take a break and go into small groups, just like we would in a real session. So it splits the room into however many you want, 5, 10, 15 breakout rooms. It does it automatically. And then as the presenter, you can pull them back whenever. So ask them to go do some group work and then share. We can do that online. And then finally, just that there are webinar accounts. If you do some mass training like I do, where I would love to have you all on screen and interacting, and but there's 121 of you on right now, and there's been some even bigger ones, and that's just unwieldy. All the problems that happen on Zoom, that just makes it even more likely. So the webinar accounts do provide this level of security where you have this clear presentation stream and still have some ways for interaction, but not the distraction and the problems that can happen otherwise. So encourage you to check out some of those Zoom options if that's there. Also, we're all spending a ton of time on Zoom. So maybe it's time to up your game. Maybe we're spending half our day on Zoom, so it might be time to look at a little better webcam with some clarity, maybe an upgraded microphone, maybe looking at what's in our background, adding some interest. So I've slowly been working on that. I haven't finally found a webcam. I'm using an optics webcam. It's about $90. They're finally starting to become available again. To make sure you have audio, and audio is the key. got to make sure there's great audio. People will put up with bad video, but not bad audio. So my audio tool of choice is, I love the Blue Yeti. I'm going to not yell at you here. I'm going to talk over here. I love the Blue Yeti microphone. Nice mid-grade microphone, about $100. Sometimes you can get them on sale. Those are becoming available again. Background, just something behind people. Like I said, I'm in the basement studio. You don't want to see the insulation and unfinished walls and that kind of stuff. I use the studio term lightly, but let's give you something to look at. So a stack of books, some photo. I have these great white frames on order that's going to let me just put little fun things in there for people to stare at. Just make it interesting. We're living here all the day. We used to have these in-person offices that everybody was in, and we could have these personal artifacts. It's a little harder this way. I know some of us are getting back to offices, but some aren't. And I think this kind of thing is always going to be an option and a need to have as we go along. Finally, dial it in. It's great that you have these tools, but if you don't know the perfect setup, for a long time, I used this mic and I had it tilted the opposite way of what I should have. And I didn't adjust the settings in the webcam. Work with a video professional. I worked with my video professional for about 45 minutes. We dialed everything in perfectly. I looked so much better. My sound was so much clearer. I was actually using the tools the way they were intended. So reach out. If you want my guy, I'm happy to connect you, but he's not going to have time for all of you coming your way. So find somebody local. Find a local video person. They're not out videoing live events right now. They'd love to help you tune up your tools. Support your local business economy that way. All right, so there's my Zoom and online rant. Let's get back to some other fundraising tools. But those are going to be fundraising tools now. We've seen lots, I don't know who's done it, but we've seen lots of articles and other things coming out on how to have Zoom donor meetings. Zoom committee meetings, volunteer meetings, board meetings. Let's use the tool well and make it so we can show up well on that tool. Just think about what that looks like. Okay, let's do graphic design. Graphic design. Now, I'm not going to teach you graphic design, but we don't always have to outsource graphic design. Sometimes we can do simple things, especially like social media graphics. There are great tools out there. I know Canva is a favorite for many that makes some graphic design simple. I like one even more simpler than Canva called Pablo. Pablo is put out by the social media aggregator Buffer. It's their integrated tool. I don't use Buffer, but I still use Pablo. And it makes me make things like these in 30 seconds. So I'll do like quote graphics for LinkedIn. That's what these originally were. I have to stop and do them because number one, the top one there is my favorite training line ever. Right after that, fundraisers always have to be learning. I'll quickly switch to personal preference seldom equates to fundraising best practice. That fundraising appeal letter you want to write and send that's glossy and gorgeous and perfectly designed and has all these statistics, not going to work. Not going to work as well as the simple, time-tested letter that is fully optimized and does all the things we're supposed to do. So personal preference seldom equates to fundraising best practice. And then just the thank you quote. Thank you is a miraculous expression. We feel good when we say it, and we feel good when we hear it. Just remember it. So both of those were created 30 seconds or less using Pablo. Easy tool. Even the next graphic coming up for the next tool I want to talk to you about, the publicity image for it was created in Pablo. So I do a lot in there. It's very easy. You don't have to have no graphic design expertise whatsoever to use something like this. Now, the tool that you probably all want to talk about or all want to hear about today, how can there be a fundraising tools webinar if they don't talk about database? They don't talk about the CRM system. Well, I will mention it here, but I'm not going to dig deep into it because nobody truly loves their fundraising database all the time. All right. We all have problems with it. We all have challenges. Every nonprofit is different. So it's impossible for them to make something that's perfect for us. But when we're looking at a database, there are some things we can do. So for me, this is really my kind of line is don't let someone else, expert or not, pick your database for you. You have to do the research. So rather than make a recommendation on a database, I like to teach people what you should be looking for. So I do have a website or a page on my site talking about CRMs. It's Fundraiser Chad's ultimate guide to fundraising databases. And it starts out by talking about what you should be looking for. What kind of things do you need to consider before you use the CRM. And yes, you need a CRM. I say if you're raising more than like 20 grand a year, that's kind of getting past the point of the Excel spreadsheet being able to take care of it. So you do need that tool. You don't have to spend a fortune. I will tell you my favorite one. My favorite one is Bloomerang. It's a good tool. It's easy to use on both the front end, and then I like that it is easy to use on the back end. To get in there and change settings and set things up, you don't need a computer science degree to be able to do that. So it's a great tool. They are also fabulous people that really contribute to the sector with research, sponsoring, conferences, many things. All around. But there are other great ones out there. They might be great matches for you too. There are really affordable ones. Little Greenlight is one that comes to mind for me. I've never used it, but people tell me Donor Snap is a great option. So there are tons out there. On the Ultimate Guide, I give you the tools to think through what that is, some articles from other places too, and then I have a comprehensive list of any fundraising database I've ever heard of and a direct link to their demo video. So it's kind of a one-stop shop, pulls it all in there together. Feel free to use it if that's of interest. The rule with using it is if you find something is missing or incorrect or a bad link, please let me know. That's how I keep that updated. I don't have time to go through and check every link every month, but we kind of crowdsource the updating of that. So please reach out if you see anything that can be added or changed there. Okay, I think our last fundraising tool, and then I want to switch to productivity tools for the remainder of our time today. And we are doing great on time today. Look at that. Word clouds, right? We've seen these, right? Word clouds. Basically, it analyzes a piece of text, a story, a couple paragraphs, and whatever words are used the most, it makes bigger. And the words that are used the least become smaller. So that's how a word cloud functions. What am I going to use it for? Well, we've been to all these fundraising sessions on donor-centric writing, how we need to be talking about the donor or our beneficiaries and not the organization. And how do we do that? You know, if anybody's ever been to a Tom Ahern webinar, is saying all the time, it's you, right? You and your. Those are the words we use. We use less of the we, the us, the our, because it's not about the organization. It's about the donor. Because of you, through your support, because of donors like you, those kind of things. That's what we want. So we always had the you test. I've heard Tom say multiple times, you get two highlighters out, you highlight the yous and yours in one color, the we's, the ours, and the us's in another. You want to see at least twice as much of that you color. Well, now we have word clouds. So there are free sites that you can just copy and paste your text into, and it'll create a word cloud for you. So now that's what I do with appeal letters. I write my appeal letter to do a U test, real quickly, copy and paste. I want to see that U jump like it is here. And you know, even if it's not the dominant word here, I want to make sure it's bigger than any kind of we or our or us is on there. So real quick analysis. We no longer have to take the time to do the highlight, and we can make sure our writing is donor-centric. Do it for appeals, do it for newsletter, do it for website copy, everywhere. Make your donors the center of your fundraising. That's it, fundraisers. Go out there, save the world, use some of these awesome tools. Take care.